Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Monday Night Live Show. And I have a guest tonight, and we have a very, very interesting topic. Make sure the mute button is on. It looks like it is. And it is very controversial. So, all right. So anyways, the title of this program is NASA's Fake Space Program Going Boldly Where No Man Is Gone. It's a panel discussion. Hello, Rocker Chick. Don't shoot the messenger. Hello, Raven Wolf. Hello, Anton. And I'm excited that you guys could hop on. I'm excited. We're going to go into some very controversial subjects here. And so I'm not saying that everything that we're discussing that I'm in complete agreement with, but I'm telling you that my guest tonight, Damian Questiny from Elemental Hypertech. Did I say that right, Damian?
Sounds good. Elemental Hypertech, sure. However you want to say.
Right. That him and I have been discussing quite a few topics over the last few weeks. He has pointed out some very good things that I've been investigating. And then there's some things I'm still trying to wrap my mind around. It's like a conundrum. But we are going to listen to some of his beliefs and theories that he has. Ella Starr, thank you for joining the chat room also. We're going to listen to some of the theories that he has, but tonight is definitely a night of NASA and space talk. Now, I have, and I'm going to start out, Damian, with letting everybody know kind of what my beliefs have been over the years, and they've been pretty basic. Like, even when I was 5 years old, I questioned everything. I pretty much debunked Santa Claus when I was 5, which to most kids would be like kind of sad, but for me, I was just that inquisitive, and I just didn't always believe everything right away. So when I saw the evidence about the moon, you know, us going to the moon, landing on the moon, when I saw that, I'm like, oh no. I mean, I just wasn't always that gullible, and I looked into it a little bit further. And even watching, and funny, after all of these years, Damian, watching a YouTube channel where President Nixon is on a landline hooked into NASA, where they're talking to them way out where the moon is. And I just thought, no way, absolutely no way. And I mean, that was like one of the first things. And so I never believed in that. But then I always thought, well, they've got satellites, they've got a space station, they went out in space. But after some very compelling information and videos and long discussions before I decided to even hop on and do this show, because I know how controversial it is, I've come to the conclusion that they have faked a lot of stuff. I mean, I have seen everything, Damian, from bubbles out there when they're in their space suits out in space trying to fix the space station, to wires that they're pulling on when they're in there, to holographic things that the green screen didn't catch when they were moving their hands like they were supposed to have something in their hands. And there is no doubt in my mind now whether 100% of it is faked or a lot of it is staged. You brought up some really good points, and I definitely want people to hear your take on this whole thing, because our tax dollars have gone to this program. And if nothing else, why are we feeding tax dollars? Why is Disney promoted it? Why is the Vatican funded a lot for a fake program? And you mentioned something to me the other day I'd like you to talk to us a little bit about, as far as them being a fraternal order and a Masonic order and all of that type of stuff. So Damian, take it away a little bit here.
Sure. Okay. Well, I want to happy Memorial Day to everybody too. But what I was trying to bring up with the fraternal part of NASA was to show how it kind of came about. And I'm not against NASA in any way. In fact, I enjoy NASA because there's inventions and technology that actually comes out of it. But there are parts of NASA that deceive people, and because it's a profit center and it makes people a lot of money. And what I was making reference to with NASA is they keep a lot of the people within their immediate circle that are the children of old astronauts, and they keep them in the family for a reason. I mean, they do add extra people in there and actors and things like that to help promote, the NASA and space altogether. But when you do the research and you look into it, you can see that there's a lot of, they're underwater in a lot of scenes where you see bubbles coming out on certain scenes. They never show you the third wall. They never do a full 360-degree panoramic view when they're on the space station. So there's a lot of questions that they could easily, fix if they just, let us see these things, because people ask all the time on there. People, they don't like to do the live stuff anymore because people ask.
Damian,
Yes.
I think that we just got booted off of YouTube. So hold on a minute, because
more than likely, if we're talking about this stuff, more than likely, we got to be respectful when we do these kind of things. So
I literally cannot find.
Yeah, I was trying to be respectful because I know when we talk about what we're going to talk about is going to be.
Well, no, I just hit something because it wouldn't let me make a comment in the chat room, and I just hit the comment for chat room, and it completely booted me out, and I can't even pull up anything to say that we're live. I mean, maybe we are live, and maybe we're not, but there's.
Well, let's continue as if we were, and hopefully, and we can apologize to anybody who's trying to make comments in the chat.
No, actually, I don't. Hold on a minute. That's just weird. It's telling me, okay, so hold on, cancel. Why won't it let me go to, okay, no, if everybody's listening, I'm gonna end this show and then we're just gonna restart it, Damian. I am so sorry. I don't know what happened here. So
let's
guys,
restart, and
okay.
let's couch the information in a different way, so that way we don't get ourselves, with the special words that we're using. We don't want to trigger anything, so we just won't use NASA, the word NASA.
I mean, there's people that do it on YouTube, and it's not a problem.
Okay, all right, we'll keep going. We'll roll with it. Let's roll with it.
She said keep going. Hold on. She said keep going. That we're still on live.
Okay, cool. Let's roll like we are.
See you. Okay, guys. Sorry, I cannot see. All right, so we're just going to keep going, Damian.
Okay, sounds good. So NASA is like a fraternity, and it's a bunch of Freemasons got together and wanted to make a profit off of science fiction, and because of that belief system, and it's like a religion, and because of that, we've been able to enjoy a lot of innovation and invention from that. Because so much money has gone into this idea that they were able to use that money to do things with it and create really cool technologies for us. So don't think that I'm bashing NASA in any way. All I'm showing you is that what they want us to believe is very, very different than reality. And they built and constructed this as a religion, as a ball religion. And so when we look at it from that perspective, then you can understand how it works as a profit center and how so many different industries have come from this idea. The Copernicus, Copernicus came up with this model over 500 years ago. And we have the university system that has been built, because you brought up the Vatican. We have the university system that has been built from this, this concept. And this has basically infected everything, infected all of our sciences, the ball theory. And it was developed about 1543 or so. It really got into practice. So before that time, people did believe the Earth was flat.
Mm-hmm. Are you still there, Damian? I actually pulled up the chat room, so I've got the chat room going.
I'm still here. I just stopped on the point where the ball model is a little over 500 years old. People, you can look back and, people will say, this is where it gets controversial. This is why we need to go through a long explanation. People will say, oh, that's not true, because in Egypt, there was a guy who had an obelisk in, Thebes, and the guy had an obelisk in Alexandria, and the guy says, what time is it? And he says, noon. He says, me too. He says, okay, tell me the angle of the obelisk right now, measure that. And then it says, okay, it's at this degree. And then he goes, well, okay, I'm at this degree. So therefore the Earth is, the geometry of the Earth says that it's 8 miles squared, basically. So every 8 miles you go, or I forget how the math works, but basically you see a curvature like every 8 miles, like an inch goes down every 8 miles. So eventually, that means if you go up high enough, you should be able to see the curve. but there hasn't been any evidence of that. And I'm willing to, I want to accept it. One of the reasons why I wanted to come on here and talk to you about it, because I want to be corrected. But see, my model is very different, and my understanding of the universe is very different than most people's model and understanding of the universe. So that's why I'm coming on here and discussing this with you. So that way we can actually have an intelligent conversation about it, instead of every time somebody brings up, oh, the earth is flat, you laugh. You are programmed to laugh. Why? I don't know. I did the exact same thing when I was educated in public school, just like everybody else. And so when I first heard the flat earth, I laughed. And then I realized, why is that? Why am I having such a bad reaction? If somebody told me the earth is on the back of a turtle, I wouldn't laugh at that. I'd be like, oh, that's interesting. Please tell me more. But when you say that it's flat, my initial reaction was, ha ha ha, you're an idiot, you're a moron. Why do I have those feelings? And so I went and I looked into it and I did some experimentations myself. I actually have a Nikon P900 camera, and I've done the research. I had the experience. And so what I would like to do is that, okay, if this is the case, let's explore it. Let's validate it. Let's verify it.
Okay. And so I have not thought one way or another, Damian, over the years. I mean, I pretty much just, have assumed that the earth is a sphere, it's a ball, it's round. And so, I mean, I don't have any problems if somebody believes that it's flat or not. And I was thinking, well, what does it matter in the scheme of things? But you and I had some discussions talking about how if we really understood the construct down here and what they're keeping us from, and you mentioned something, how they want us to think that we're insignificant in this vast universe rather than really significant and powerful. And they will also keep us from going past the North Pole and the South Pole, which we cannot explore certain areas that are like off limits. So that kind of makes me wonder on that. And you had mentioned something that this planet is, and I think of the word planet, they're planning it, planet. They
That's a good one.
Okay, and so, to me, it's like, okay, if we have forbidden zones on this planet, there's got to be a reason why. And you had mentioned something about it is vastly more big than we can imagine. And they don't want us going wandering around. They want to keep us in this section of the control matrix. Hello, Rick Delaney, and everybody else that's on there that I didn't get to see. But anyways, so you had mentioned that. But
that's exactly what I said.
Right. Before we get into some of that theory, because I was going to get into that kind of the second half of the show, but can you explain to me, before I saw these videos of the space station being faked, what you have come to find, why you think that it's not real, that they're really not in space? I did some postings on Crypto Truth Seekers Facebook group, posting some of these videos, because I'm not going to show them on here, where NASA people have actually said we have not left lower orbit.
That's correct.
They have to disclose this, and then they think that we're not going to understand. It's just going to scramble in our heads, and we're not even going to think it through.
No, it's not like that. It's not like that.
So I also saw videos, folks, of rockets that were being launched from Elon Musk and everything in Florida, where a woman took a video, and 2 of those rockets actually went up, and then it literally turned and went down into the ocean. And I saw the one that my cousin got in California from Elon Musk, and it just flew sideways across all of these neighborhoods. And it's like, why aren't they going straight up? So I question everything. And so go ahead, Damian, if you've got anything to add to this, I'd like to hear your thoughts.
No, I actually love everything you said, except for on, I do hold one of the things that you said that might be a little bit different from my model. And it's people are going to believe what they want to believe. And you're not going to be able to change their mind until they are ready. And so what you have is you have different levels and layers to the system itself. And these are doorways and checks and balances to keep people herded in certain money-making profit schemes, okay? And because, here's why, because people are gonna believe it no matter what, even if it's a lie. And so all they're doing is they're just harvesting that, that mindset.
Right.
So, and no matter what you tell somebody, they're not, if it doesn't fit within their little bubble, their box that they created. And that's the difference between these models. And this is why they've decided to build a globe Earth model, is because you cannot, I mean, yes, the universe is infinite. In my model, the universe is infinite also. But in the globe model, the universe is infinite, but you need the government to leave it. In my model, the universe is infinite, but you can just walk there if you want. You don't have to have anybody else tell you where to go. You can just go there if you really, really want to. If you are an explorer, if you really want to leave this creation of whatever this is, you want to walk out into the universe, you can do that. And that's the difference. So it's people, like I said, there's a great show, X-Files, where there's, you know, people who want to believe in aliens are going to believe in aliens. That's just the way it is. But what they do is they have this poster on the walls that says, I want to believe. So no matter what you tell them, they're going to want to believe. If that makes sense, that analogy makes sense. So what we want to do is so the reason why the flat earth is so detrimental is because inside of ourselves, we know if the universe is really infinite and we can go anywhere we want and we can explore anything, therefore there is no limitation in the world. On the ball, there's limitation, right? We can nuke ourselves and blow ourselves up and we'd all be dead. There's all these different things. We are a pebble of sand in an infinite sea of other planets that are meaningless. But what is discovered is wherever we go, the universe it's represented the same it's equal everywhere we go in the universe.
When you're saying the universe, are you saying the stars, right? The sky above. Maybe explain that analogy where you were telling me, hold my hand up, and all about the stars and kind of where Polaris is and how when you were mentioning when the stars go down, but if you keep walking north with your hand facing north, go far enough to the North Pole, you're going to see the same stars, the same. Just explain it the way, you know, because like I said, Damian, I'm not sure. I'm trying to wrap my mind around this. I haven't really given it much thought. I just always thought, you know, the earth was a sphere and round. But go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, it's really difficult. It's a process because you're moving from a framework of a box into a framework of infinitum. And if it's infinitum, you have to reorganize everything you've ever learned and built control structures around everything you've ever learned. So it's a process when you go through this. So it's very difficult and very hard and very painful. I know, I went through it. Believe me, it was very scary. Me to come out and talk about this, you know, can be difficult for people. I'm like the favorite monkey, like with my daughter and stuff. Like all of her friends want to come over and sit with me and talk with me when I talk about the flat earth, because here's how it works. If you just look north and you hold your hand up facing north and you rotate it clockwise, that's the way the stars move. Now, if you just keep walking your hand, now you're under Polaris, you're at the North Pole. The stars are still above you, okay? You keep going, now you keep going, now Polaris is starting to move behind you. You keep going, now you're going beyond the pole. You're going beyond the North Pole. It's infinite plane of existence. So now it's behind you. And now what's really strange is that when you look south, it's the same, it's the exact same constellation. They have the same constellations in the southern hemisphere as they do in the northern hemisphere. How do you explain that on a globe? You can explain that on the flat earth, but how it works is that as Polaris goes down there, they're the same stars wherever I know that doesn't make sense, but if you actually look up into the sky, if you look north, just look north, and you will see, and you do star trails, you will see that it looks like just the same pattern repeated over and over again, looking into a tunnel. So if you wanted to get to Mars, you got to plot its course, and you can walk there because when you look at the stars, you're actually looking at the floor of the earth, but our eyes give you this dimensional roundness to them. So it looks like they're all spinning and globular, but really what it is just the organic light of the floor of the universe that we're looking at, and infinitum. So you can go wherever you want to go. So the difference is that on a globe model, you need the government to leave. You can't go anywhere. Your mind is wrapped around this globe where the universe is vast, still vast. So that's checked. So both models check, both models fit. Space is not where galaxies exist, but it's where civilizations exist. Space is when you go out into space instead of up into space, right? It's so checked. So language is still the same. It's just the model is Yes.
Damian, I have Great White Hunter on here. Hello, Great White Hunter. Thanks for being in the chat room. And, you know, there's no right or wrong answers here, no right or wrong beliefs, whatever you believe, folks. He says,
Right.
why can't we see the Southern Cross in the Northern Hemisphere? And it's telling me my internet connection is unstable. This is a brand new computer. Anyways, go ahead, Damian. Why can't we see the Southern Cross in the Northern Hemisphere?
That's a great question. That's a really great question. When you walk south, and by the way, Antarctica is gonna open up to us. So we're gonna be able to get a lot more detail and understanding with this in the public domain. Right now, we don't have this information, but they are building this new land for us to explore. And we will be able to get more accurate information and details in the public space. So instead of us talking about theory and all this kind of stuff, we'll actually have evidence to show these kind of models. So the reason why you don't see it is if you go far enough south, it'll start that tunnel system, because if you just go over, you know, it's still spinning the same direction, and it looks like almost like a tunnel. And you walk on the floor of the earth and you're walking up, eventually you'll start seeing that bright light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. And then that will start moving up over you as you're walking closer. Still the same stars in the Southern Hemisphere. So it's still the same. As you're walking closer, you'll notice that it starts opening up and it starts building up above you, and then you're walking underneath it again. But it's all new land, and what's out there, at least from the experience, is water, ice, and land, water, and ice. That seems to be pretty much the three general elements that we find as we go out. And there's mountain ranges and all sorts of stuff out there. It's literally, we are explorers, and we want to go out and explore these things. But what we have is we have a control system built around us. Now, just to take a step back, because we've gone really far into the distance here without providing some backup. I mean, we've really, you know, we probably just like freaked everybody out and they're probably all gone. But I want to back up, and I want to share this with you. If you go online and you just type in the United Nations logo, and you look at the logo of the United Nations, you are actually looking down on the flat Earth. And there is no Antarctica in that. And it's broken into 33 sections. And there's a reason for that. Now, there's two places that are off limits right now that we are not allowed to go. That is the North Pole and the South Pole. And those are patrolled, and you need permission to go there. There is a reason for that. Until they are ready, they'll open the South Pole for us. But the North is a whole nother ballgame, because it's more land up there too. So I'll stop there, because I know it's a lot of information. The United Nations logo is important. You're looking down on the flat Earth. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, I just don't understand why people on both sides of the fence get so upset at each other side, because to be perfectly honest with you, whatever it really is, to me, it doesn't make any difference whether it's flat or it's round. I mean, I could care less, but I could understand some of your reasoning, not all of it, but I mean, I can understand both sides. I mean, there's valid proof on like both sides, but I know that when I flew to Hawaii every year, it did come in my mind, like when you're up there 38, 40 some thousand feet and you're looking around, you don't see any curvatures. And you've got to be seeing hundreds of miles, not, you know, like 10 miles in front of you. And I did used to kind of wonder, like, how come I don't see the curves? So, right. You know, that was like one of the only time I kind of was like thinking of that.
No one's ever seen the end. We don't know what the end looks like. We don't know what it looks like. Now, if I can back up one more time, I come from a remote viewing background. I was a paid remote viewer, okay, in the late 90s. So I come from the old school mentality of what remote viewing used to be, not what remote viewing is today. And in that process, what they trained me to do is to learn how to read maps. And every map they ever gave us was flat. And one of the processes that we were trying to use in this system, when we were paid very well, and by the way, I posted this stuff on my channel and stuff, so people want to go and do research and find out about what I did, you're welcome to. I have stuff on my channel. But anyway, what they did is they took the pyramids of Egypt and they overlaid this mathematical pattern over the pyramids of Egypt. And what they were trying to discover is, if you took the Fibonacci sequence, could you plot out all of basically the power points because this universe is actually an electromagnetic universe. It's not big bangs and explosions. And that's why the difference between the ball model and the difference between what I'm talking about is electromagnetic universe. And so what we were trying to do is plot out where all the PowerPoints were. And what we discovered is that there are pyramids on these specific points as you spiral out. And the pyramids play a role in that. Now, what you have is you have two interesting intersections. You have one that's in Alaska, which has yet to be talked about in the public domain, but there are pyramids in Alaska. Just wait until those hit the, the internet. And then there are also pyramids in Antarctica. The ones in Antarctica have already been discussed, so you can actually do research if you want and go look into them, but they're on these PowerPoints. And
Damian, I have two questions. They're asking pretty much the same questions, Twilight and Rocker Check. So if that were the criteria, then all pilots would know the truth. And I asked Damian this off air before, so I'll let him answer it and ask him what pilots think is the world flat or round. All right, Damian, you're on.
There are pilots who think the earth is flat, absolutely. And there are pilots who think the earth is round, but that's, again, goes into belief. Because if you want to see the world as round, guess what? You're going to imagine that curve is happening, because when you look in the horizon, there's a thing called perspective. And that perspective gets smaller and smaller the further you look out. For example, when you drive down a road and you have street lights on the road, right, at every 50 feet or whatever, you'll notice that the street lights get smaller and smaller as they go off into the distance in a straight road. But those street lights aren't getting smaller and smaller in size. They're getting smaller and smaller with perspective.
Right.
So what you have.
And Damian, I totally get that. I get some people, and I got one person in here, and they don't buy the flat earth theory.
No problem.
That's fine. And there's people that have views on both sides. And the main thing I wanted to do when we were talking on the phone, Damian, was really just talk about how much NASA's faking us. I mean, that's kind of what we were going to maybe end up talking a little bit about your theory on why you believe in the flat earth, because I know that the flat earth and round earthers, they normally don't have discussions. And if they do, it usually turns into a lot of arguments or battles, which I do not understand. And we all want to respect everybody's opinion, whether we believe it or not. Hello, Brian, Milky Way Weekly. But can we just back up just a little bit and maybe explain why, from your viewpoint of you thinking that the flat earth, then from why NASA is fooled us for this long, and how they're fooling us, kind of thing. Like, I liked what we had, the conversations on the phone. We get on here and I know it goes a little different than we were. I wish I could record the ones that we had.
Sorry about that.
Hello, Judith Nolan. Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry about that. We won't go. Yeah, we'll just keep it. We'll keep it with NASA and stuff like that. We went off on that tangent. Okay. So NASA, they do this in a studio, and there's a Laurel Canyon. There's all these. You can trace this stuff back for yourself. You can pull up the Apollo 11 official Apollo 11 NASA image, and look at just go on and Google Apollo 11 official NASA image on the moon, and find the high definition version, the one that you can actually zoom in on and look really closely. And there'll be so many things that it'll just blow your mind of obviously a major lie. You'll notice things like that the shadow of the lunar module goes all the way to the edge of the moon. How is that possible if, unless the moon is super tiny or the lunar module is super huge, or it's shot in a studio? For example, there are no stars. You see the landing pads on the NASA lunar module, and you'll notice that there's no dust that has blown up onto the padding on the pads when it landed. How is that possible when they're jumping around and dust is blowing everywhere when they actually start moving around, right? Where do they put the car? Where did NASA put the car? And then you zoom in closer, and it looks like it's a bunch of cardboard and curtain rods and tinfoil. And I'm not even kidding. Look for it for yourself. There's one image, there's one spot where if you look at it, it looks like a jet, and the jet goes into like this piece of leather or something that's black, and it has like this little slide to it. And I was like, you're like wondering, okay, what is that? So when you look into how this whole thing was presented, it's obviously a fake, and that's something that NASA is going to have to to atone for at some point, or maybe not, because people want to believe. Like I said, people want to believe this stuff so badly that they'll laugh, but yet they won't have time to look.
And you know, I have somebody in here asking, and I've had the same question too, Twilight. What would be the purpose of NASA misleading everyone? I have my theory. I'll let you explain yours, Damian, on why you think they're misleading.
Domination, dominance. They want to dominate. That's what we do. And it's, you know, it's a battle of who can win. Now, what you'll find nowadays is you'll find that other countries are involved with our space program. You'll find Russia involved with our space program. Yet, if you talk to a Russian, you're a Russian spy, right? I mean, it's like, this doesn't make any sense how we can be part of
right.
a
But they're learning our secrets up there with our satellites, and we're supposed to like not let them know about them.
And NASA, yeah, and NASA's supposed to be in charge of all our best technology, and we're working with Russians, but yet we can't talk to a Russian in our country or we can't have any relations. I mean, it doesn't make any sense, all this stuff. So, and China's involved, all the industrialized nations are, because it's a profit center. It makes a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, in the title of this program, NASA Fake Space Program. So we're going boldly where no man has gone. And that's why I kind of wanted to keep it in that sphere for right now. And we can always go into the other topic a little bit later. But
no, we don't. That's okay.
I was literally, Damian, I was blown away when you first told me and you sent me a few videos or a few YouTube shows to watch. And then I did a little bit more research of seeing how the girl in space, she's got her hair and it's all sticking up. Her necklace is floating around, but her hair isn't floating like her necklace. I mean, there were so many things that you could see that were so fake. I mean, literally, I mean, there's just no way that you can convince me anymore now that I used to think that at least they went up into space, even if they didn't make it to the moon. And then hearing Obama and hearing the general from NASA, one of the generals, saying that we can't get out of low orbit. And they keep talking about the, you know, the Van Allen belt and this other shield and all of this type of stuff. And I'm beginning to see all of these lies that our tax dollars have gone to pay for this BS.
Yeah, that's right. But again, there's been great technologies that have come from it, though, too, that we've been able to benefit from. And you know, when these things come about, these minds, these engineers, right, these technicians, they're compartmentalized, and so they're working on things like satellite technology and drone technology and these kind of things. And they're because of all the money that's going into these. This is why I don't like to talk too bad about NASA, because they're getting all this money, and then they're actually, I mean, yeah, they spend it on themselves too, but they're actually trying to do something with it too. They're actually trying to put it into certain innovations and technologies so we can all benefit. And we do, not all of it. I mean, they suck a lot of money from us, but it's just, that's what it's designed to do. And they have to keep the interest and keep the people responding to it. You know, Star Trek, Star Wars, all these things to reinforce this concept. Every time we go to the movie, there's the ball. Every time we look at somebody's business card, there's the ball. Every time we look at anything economic, there's the ball. It's like it's everywhere. It's always in your face, constantly reinforcing itself.
So, Damian, why do you think they can't leave lower orbit? Tell us your theory on why they can't get it. You said something the other day about thrusters cannot go past low orbit. They just have not designed the technology or whatever. But anyways, talk a little bit about that and your theories on all of that.
Yeah, that's a very good question. That's especially with NASA. So the higher so everything's about density. Okay, in this model, okay, everything. So the higher you go, the less dense it becomes, and the colder it becomes, because density is really pressure and temperature and the interaction between that. And the lower you go, basically, the more dense it becomes. Okay, so as you go higher, there is a point. There's pockets of things too. I can show you the graphs. I mean, they've done all the research, and NASA's done the research on this, and it seems to be accurate because airline pilots use some of the NASA information for the density of the atmosphere. This is why they fly at certain altitudes, because they know those are certain pockets of least resistance, if you will. But when you get past a certain point with the thruster, there's nothing for the booster to push against. So there's no air there. So it doesn't go any higher because there's nothing to push to thrust it beyond a certain point. And then also another thing too is when they don't use thrusters, when they use things like high altitude balloons, there's another weird anomaly that takes place that I would just love to actually research publicly instead of through government sources, because we can't trust that. But I would love to put together some type of thing to find out at a certain point, these balloons pop, and when they pop, it sounds like they hit something, and that something resonates and vibrates like a bell. I'm not okay. This is where it gets crazy. I'm not saying that there's a dome or anything like that. All I'm trying to say is that there's obviously something, a density there that's a lot heavier, because when we hit it, these balloons pop. It's almost as if, and hopefully people out there know what I'm talking about, when the BP oil disaster happened, it's not the oil, but we found this area that was like this giant crater, and we tried to put our submarine down in there, and we kept bouncing off the bottom of this water beneath the ocean. The water beneath the ocean was thicker, and we couldn't penetrate it. And it's like that, almost like that up there too. So when we hit this with balloons, because there's a point where the thrusters can't actually do it, but the balloons, for some reason, still, they still technically can. I don't know how the difference happens, but I guess there's some mechanism that takes place where the balloons still can rise slightly more, and it hits this and it pops, and then everything comes back down. So
right, so they can't get past that barrier, whatever it may be. Somebody on here is talking about all sorts of plasma field and everything like that. Who knows what it is?
Very good.
Black ops. It is interesting whenever I've seen rockets take off, and they will do the film footage. As soon as they get to a certain point, as the rockets are going to turn, they turn the film off.
That's
so
right.
You don't see that they go this way, folks. And I'm telling you, I have friends in California, and they watch these rockets go like this, like they're heading out to sea sideways. What do? Then turn up and go straight up? Nobody ever sees them go completely straight up for very, very long without them starting to curve.
That's correct.
That is correct, and there's a reason for it.
There's no proof. And this is about evidence. We want to have evidence. That's all. We're just asking for evidence.
Right.
You know, yeah. What I wanted to say is whoever said the plasma thing was genius, because we don't really know what it is, but plasma seems to be the logical explanation. So there's some kind of plasma. We're in some. The air is electric, and sorry, so we can feel it, but we can't see it. It's the same thing up there. The higher we go, it works the same way. It's electric and magnetic. That's what we're in. So
then I've always been, since you mentioned that to me a while ago, and we'll answer that question, Armstrong, here in just a minute. I'm going to remember that one. So when you mentioned that the other day, I was sitting here going, well, that's why they want us to think that they've gone, because they are God and they own space. I mean, who owns space? NASA. And one of the popes even said, we own the space. We own everything. They want to own everything on this planet, and they don't want us to go beyond certain boundaries, like Antarctica, the North Pole. They want to keep us wherever they want to. And it wasn't until, I don't know how long ago, before they discovered America, and how many more continents are beyond where they don't want us to know about, so that they can keep us in their control. Otherwise, we would be so adventurous, we'd start, going and finding another America, an all new another America somewhere, or something, And we can definitely go into that later. But what about the roadster that Elon Musk launched? Somebody asked.
If you want to believe that really happened, that's great. I mean, to me, there's this great thing called Heavy Metal, and it was an old magazine, and they made a movie out of it and stuff. And in the beginning of the movie Heavy Metal, it shows the guy in the Corvette falling out. And I know that they're trying to reproduce that whole thing, but this is a really deep rooted meme in my generation. And so when we see something like that, we want to believe that so badly, because it's like the coolest thing you've ever seen when you were a kid. When you saw that, I remember when I first saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, that's how I want to arrive home. That's riding home like a baller, right? So yeah, they want to show you, make you think that that's real. It's like the same thing.
Powerful. And Kevin Jolly, the Van Allen radiation belt is the dome. Yes, whatever it's made up of, I don't know, but
it's electric.
Electric, plasma, and who knows, but we cannot go into space. And even if the belt wasn't there with the zero whatever zone and all of that, if you look, they look like they're swimming, and they're all trained. All these astronauts are trained underwater. Okay. I mean,
the clearest pool in the world. They're known to have the clearest pools in the world.
right?
So, yeah.
And then you see the bubbles coming up when they're in space, like they superimpose because they're actually underwater and then they're filming it. I don't know, but I'm telling you, I have seen enough evidence to go BS, 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 you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they have to keep people's interest. That they'll never pan around and show you behind them. They'll never do a full 360 degree with the camera when they're on the ISS. You'll notice that the planet Earth is always just so beautifully, perfectly positioned, where you see just the curve and it's so gorgeous, you know.
So yeah.
Yeah, everything's all you know, very, very. I mean, they do a good job. They put on a good production. I would have to say, I'm impressed. I'm impressed.
Right?
It looks good.
But you made a good point. And when you told me this a couple of weeks ago, I went to some of their live feed, and when they had the astronauts out there, they would sometimes move the cameras, but you would never do a whole 180. It would never go completely around so that you could see all the way around.
Yeah. And another thing would be fun to do, it'd be fun, like if they ever do a live video again, it's like, hey, can one of the three of you who's talking right now on the ISS and talking to all of us, can one of you just turn around and go ahead and swim down that tunnel behind you? And because if it wasn't a green screen, you wouldn't be able to swim down that tunnel. So just go ahead and turn around and go down there for me, so I can make sure that you're not, there's not a green screen behind you.
Oh, and you know what? That brings up another point. You know, this is actually almost comical. It's kind of fun to debunk all this stuff because it's just hilarious. Originally, they were trying to make it seem like they had an 8-second delay whenever the kids in the classroom were talking to them in the space station or somebody was on the phone with them. And they would tell them there's going to be a little delay because they're so far out there in space. And so it would be, they'd act like it took them 8 seconds to hear their question. And Damian, now they don't even do that anymore. Like, no.
Yeah.
And yet you made a good point to me on the phone the other day. You can go up into the mountains and lose cell service.
Yeah, it's all ground-based. Thank you very much, USGS, for making that a reality for us. Everything's ground-based. All of this stuff is. The whole system, it's all based off repeat. They're called nodes, and they repeat the signal over great distances now. But they've covered up all of America, and we use this now. But yet, when we go certain places that are too high, there's no cell tower to relay that signal, so we lose reception. If there was a satellite, it would cover the whole area, and we'd actually probably get better cell service, right? If we go to the top of the mountain,
we wouldn't need 5G. We just have all those 2,000 satellites up there. We would have perfect everything, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we would.
And the rocker chick made a good point. The moon tapes were also lost. They actually said, I heard a guy from NASA say, oh, the technology that we used to go to the moon, we can't find, it's lost.
And we can't reproduce it today, they said.
And they said, oh, we can't reproduce it either.
We cannot reproduce it either.
I mean.
When I can make the lunar module in my garage. I can look at the picture and make a lunar module in my garage. I can go to Home Depot and buy some wood, buy some paint, buy some, curtain rods, and I
saw an upside down umbrella. It looked like an umbrella on that vehicle. I mean, it was so archaic. I mean, there's just no.
Yeah, I mean, they did what they could with what they had.
They'll take it to their grave and they'll swear by it. I mean, they'll swear, oh yeah, no, we did, or whatever. But
yeah, and there's people out there. If you do the research, there's people out there who said, okay, this is the rover on Mars. Then how come the rover on Mars, this mountain in the background is the exact same mountain that's in Greenland, and here's proof. And they show Greenland and they show Mars and they say, this is the same mountain. How's this possible? So if there's people out there who have done these kind of things, you can just search it and you'll find these nice little gems where people have just been like, does this make sense? Like they'll go to Google Earth and they'll say, this is the exact same spot as this place. Oh, and here's the rover.
Or you can see the videos where they're in there and the guy's floating up a little bit because the wire's pulling him up, and the other guy grabs him, and you can literally see him grab a wire to pull him back down.
Yes.
I mean,
they hold their legs. Their stomach muscles aren't strong enough. They hold their legs up in that position because they act like they're holding onto a bar, but they need to keep that because the harness is around them. So you can't stretch out because then you'll see everything. But it's.
Oh no, and here's another thing, Damian. There was a newer one where somebody caught a footage, because there's always supposed to be live feed from up there, of a fly crawling on the outside of the window while the camera's looking down at the Earth, crawling on the outside of the window.
Space fly.
A space fly. Where Where are space flies from?
Well, there goes the underwater theory.
Well, yeah, no, this is the space station, but I mean, I'm not talking about when you see them out there. It's from the inside of the space station. It almost looks like a, you know, like it's just like one of those windows that kind of bows out, and there was a fly on the outside of it.
Hilarious. So, I know. It's sad. It's sad. I just hate bursting people's bubble about this kind of stuff. But that's NASA's job is to perpetuate this idea, to get our children into this kind of information, because space, to what they teach us, is very, very different between space, what they think of it as. Space is going out into the space of the world, not space up there. So when we have this drone technology, our children are going to be exploring these lands. And NASA, it sucks that we got to beat up on NASA, because, you know, that was going to be one of the main thrusts of financing for this whole project. But people are too wise now. They're starting to figure it out. So they actually have to involve humanity. They can't control the narrative anymore. They have to let it out of the bag. And this is why NASA fights so hard for its life.
Oh, somebody on there, and I don't know how to pronounce your name, Laystar OA. Here's a possible theory. They make all the errors, they make it all fake. Therefore, they cannot leave low orbit, or they can, and they do it all the time in secret and don't really tell us the truth.
That's exactly, you're absolutely right. Here's what they do. They have been exploring the land, more land, for a very long time in space. But it's not space on other planets per se, but you can actually get there. So they've been surveying and analyzing and collecting and doing all these things out there. So you're absolutely right. There is a program that exists. Now, the land that they want to open up, like they did the last time they did this, was Columbus in 1492. And people were so upset back then that we talked about the Vatican, they were losing control of the monarchy, and stuff was losing control. So they opened up more land for expansionism, because they have to kick those people out, kick those thinkers out, because they're causing too many problems on the status quo in the system. So they moved them to America, and they opened up more land for us to explore. And they were telling them
America didn't exist, and they were going to fall off the face of the earth and all this other stuff.
These guys are sailors. They're merchants. They've been sailors and merchants for how many thousands of years, and all of a sudden they're told there's more land. I mean, think about what that did to the social order. Okay.
And besides, Columbus wasn't the first one here anyways. And so I'm sure the word was out, but they didn't tell anybody. Because
that's right.
They wanted to keep them all in, you know, England. They wanted to keep them under the monarchy. So what makes us think that they don't want to keep us under the monarchy here too? I mean. Correct.
This is a little different. This one's going to be a little different though, because this is going to be a military operation. And that's what bothers me about it. And this is where I kind of didn't want to go with the conversation. I think, but we don't have to go here if you don't want to. But this new opening up of new land is going to be a military operation, because the United States is spearheading this. And we are the military arm of the world system. So we have the Vatican, which is the mind of the world system. You have the monarchy, which is designed to be the structure itself for the legal system in which we operate under. I shouldn't say the legal system, the monarchy. Then there's the monarchy system, which was the first franchisee of the Vatican. And the reason why they had to do that, they had to split power, because the Vatican was losing control at that particular time. And so they made the monarchy system as a way of control of the people. So it's a top-down military strategy. It's a pyramid structure. Then what happened is that they were noticing that there was an infection, what they would consider, I'm not saying that, I'm just saying that from the history point of view, is that they had basically an infection, what they would call an infection, in every city, which was the Zionist situation, the Kabbalists. And so what they had to do there is they brought them under one umbrella as well, and they made them the organizers, the bookkeepers, and keeping track of every generation. And so they control kind of the purse strings, or a bookkeeper of the system itself. So they're kind of like the body, if you will, of the system. So you have the mind, which is the Vatican, the Israel, which is the body, and you have the monarchy, which is the heart. Okay, so the queen controls the people. We love the queen, right? We love this type of idea, right? This is the heart of the structure. Now what you have is you have Mars, which is the warrior, which was the next franchisee, because there's so much population. We need now a structure, a military structure, to keep everybody in line for protection and these kind of things. And that's where Washington, D.C. comes in. So you have the Vatican, which is its own city-state. You have Jerusalem, which is being built to be its own city-state. You have the city of London, that's within London, which is its own city-state. And you have Washington, D.C., which is its own city-state. So they follow a different rule set, okay? And we are the military side of that structure. So what happens is the Antarctica stuff, that is being given to the military side of things, where America is spearheading this. And that's kind of long and the short. I kind of went off on a tangent there, sorry.
No, that's okay. I keep hearing that it's probably because of the holiday today. I was hearing fireworks and I'm hearing a lot of car doors and stuff like that. But oh, thank you, Lele Star. Now I know how to say your name right. And this is very, very interesting, Damian. And I can see how they would want to keep us under control. They just announced that I think it was 34 priests in Chile resigned because of all the pedophilia, and the Pope was saying they were holding back information. And this is how crazy the system is here, folks. This is how bad we've gone. They could resign without going to prison.
Yep.
Literally, they could be child molesters, and the average poor Joe on the street that does it will go for 18 to 20 years lockup. They don't. They just get resigned, and yet we're clapping our hands because the Pope said that they didn't, do what was right, and they were keeping some of the information or the paperwork on all of the pedophiles, and so they resigned. Oh, great. Are we supposed to cheer them on? Why haven't people fallen off by the thousands out of the Catholic Church and run from the Catholic Church? I mean, it's beyond me, Damian. But anyways, I know that has nothing to do about NASA, but it was something that just came up not too long ago. I was also watching that a lot of the booms that are going on around the country, that there have been reporting on a lot of YouTube shows, all these booms that are really loud, that everybody's like, oh, what the heck is going on here? And they're happening over and over again, like it's underground. Now people are starting to have theories tying it in that they're all near these Walmarts that have shut down, and there's like barbed wire on the roofs of them. A lot of people are claiming they're going to try to turn them into FEMA camps, and that there's underground tunnels to shuttle people around. I don't know where that is going either. You folks can leave a comment on that, what you think about that. But, if we awaken and we start seeing as things are coming down, the pedophiles and everything, Damian, I just wonder if they can't contain us anymore. When we start seeing all these lies and we decide we want to go find another America somewhere, and they don't want us to go anywhere past the North Pole or down past Antarctica. I mean, literally, this planet that was given to us by, a infinite source being, and they think they own it, and then they're keeping us from exploring. And
that is exactly right. Exactly. I shouldn't have made that hand signal, but that's exactly right. So you nailed it. They keep us from exploring. That's the key to the whole thing right there.
Right.
We're on a farm. We're on. I mean, I'm sorry.
A prison farm here.
Well, you can look at it as a prison if you want. You can.
Well,
it's not a prison, but
farm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can look at it that way, but it's just everything is controlled and managed to the nth degree, where even to the point where you are a commerce unit, where you have a social security number that is registered, and there is a bond taken out on that, and there's an insurance policy taken out on that as well. So everything is in contract and in agreement. And so we are citizens. Citizens of what? Right? States. What are states citizens of? The Constitution, right? Everything was the Constitution. Apparently, the Constitution is now part of the United Nations, which is a lot of people will disagree with that, but there's like levels of sovereignty that I'm just trying to present here. And so we have to not embrace this, but if you have knowledge behind it, then you can maneuver yourself within these control systems. where you can lessen the evil in your life, if you will, and increase the goodness in your life.
Right. And, you know, they're in the process. They're finishing up building the new American embassy over in London. There was a gentleman that filmed it, and the address is 33 Elm Street. And you guys can look this up and fact check it. I guess Trump wasn't going to go there, but now I guess he is going to go there. It's another, you know, dedication thing or whatever. But interesting how the number 33 comes up. And there's a lot of things in London that show how we are tied in. We think that we're all individual countries, but we're all tied in, except with the exception of a few rogue countries that they don't like being rogue. The rest are, I mean, it's already.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that because that's important. This ties into the name of your show, which is Crypto Truth Seekers. Now, blockchain technology plays a critical role in that process because what the idea is to take everything in the physical world and turn it into a digital asset. So you have a digital representation of the organic physical world. And that's what blockchain is designed to do. The issue that they've been running into with blockchain, why they've been rolling it out so slowly lately, is because there's so much corruption in the system that they have to root it out. Because if everything's going to go on the blockchain, there won't be any secrets. Everything will be everything. See, they have to control the narrative as closely as they can through, because these rogue nations are not on the same they're not playing by the same rules. They're on the same playbook, and we got to get them on the same playbook so that way there's no leaks of information, so they can control the complete narrative from A to Z. So people like you and I are going to be in short supply because we won't have the opportunity to talk about these things at some point because everything will be blockchain related, fitting into certain molds and certain categories, boxed in. So they're removing the elements in which are harmful to them right now with the cardinals that you're talking about, things like that, letting them go off, just go away. Buddy, don't get in any trouble. If you get in any trouble, we're going to arrest you at this point. This is your get out of jail free card, basically, is from my perspective. I mean, think about it. Hillary Clinton, no offense to her or anything. I mean, if you're Hillary Clinton, and nothing's happened to her but if she screws up, watch how fastly the boom comes down on her if she slips now, right?
Yeah,
because
they just need to shut up now at this point, I guess.
Right. Go away and go do your thing. Go to Netflix. Go to Netflix and make videos.
Right, exactly. And you should hear my mom rant about Hillary. She hates her. She's the devil. Late for hundreds of thousands of kids missing per year. Also, somebody told me in Texas during the last flood, a bunch of people have shown up missing, like they can't find them.
Oh man, if you want to talk about that, that's a dangerous thing. But yeah, that happens, and it's really scary, especially in developed countries. That happens a lot.
Yeah, I don't know if it's our organ harvesting, if it's sex slavery or whatever, but I'm telling you folks, the lies go on and on and on.
You do not want to know about those things. There's blood rituals and sacrifice. I mean, it's just disgusting and gross when you actually just look at it. Just scratch the surface and you will want to run away as fast as you can. It's disturbing.
It's worse than we thought. And the dark web stuff that had Hillary stuff on it, I mean, they should just shoot her in the head and move on. I'm serious.
Some people feel that way. She's got some work to do to change people's opinion of her. And if
she's not human, you're so right. Bingo, Rick, Delaney, Jackson. Yep.
Yeah.
You that much more. She is not human. Not really. She's like an avatar for pure evil, and absolutely correct. So is the queen.
So yeah. I would it's really scary actually to think about. Now let's explore that.
Controlled. What do you want to say? Go ahead, Damian.
I just want to explore that, and I don't want people to think that I'm apologizing for them, because I'm not doing that. But I just kind of want to present a different narrative from a perspective that may be from their position. And these are very, in my estimation, the royal family, these people are very tormented souls, because they swear allegiance to something that is very, very powerful and controls them like a puppet. They have no free will. They cannot go into the world. And so here's my definition of evil and good. Evil is anything that you do, anything that is done involuntary, which means against your will. And goodness is anything that you do voluntary, that you willingly want to put your energy behind. And so if you are in your life constantly doing things against your will, you are living evil. And you can root it out and destroy it if you want to, but it takes choice and effort and work and pain. And if you are a person who's doing what you like in life, that you want to do, and you wake up every morning, you're like, yeah, let's go and do it. I do want to do things that I want to do. You are living in what we would call goodness. Okay.
I agree with you. I think they're under complete control. Like they can't even think differently. That's just.
Here's a perfect example. We had a wedding here of two beautiful people. Okay. Well, say what you want, but maybe they're not. Maybe they're bloodsuckers and they're reptilians and all. Okay, whatever. But you have the prince and the new lady. They got married, right? This beautiful girl, and yet she had to remove all of her social media. She can't even talk to her friends anymore. She completely shut everybody out. She can't even go into acting, something that she loves to do with her life, and she can't even go into it, and she gave it all up. And you have to understand the control system, because they don't want her letting out like what Diana did, what's really going on behind the scenes, because what will happen is, and people love Diana, Princess Diana. Right? So she had to get rid of all this stuff in her life. Think about how sad that would be for most people. So they have to pay their price. They pay their price too.
They do. They got to just, they are under complete control with bodyguards and everything everywhere they go, and they have to be, monitored what they say, where they go, how they act, how they speak, how they walk, everything.
Yep.
I agree with that. And another thing, I really believe that when some of this stuff starts exposing even more and more and more, and people get tired of the government, there is a possible theory, my theory, a thought, that people are going to get more and more tired of the government. Like they're going to want to go with torches and everything and just say, hey, we're done with the government. And they're going to start turning to the scientists and some of these other people that are going to be like God to them. And Elon Musk is climbing the ladder with being an idol. Mm-hmm. And recently he said something I heard that was so disturbing to me, Damian, that I just don't even know how to process it. But he said the pyramid that's been the pyramid, how it's always been, is turned upside down now. And it's out of balance. And we've got now more people in their 60s or older that are in diapers, he said, basically, like they're useless people. And then there are those that are 40 and under, and then blah, blah, blah. And then the elite now are at the bottom because there's way more of these, almost like he's talking like Agenda 21 stuff without saying it, Damian.
Yep.
He literally was saying that there's an overpopulation, and he explained it with such a good, soothing tone and voice, like you would hear a pharmaceutical commercial where your nose will fall off and your eyeballs are going to rot out and you're probably going to get a brain tumor. But I have such a nice voice. Don't you want to take this drug?
Oh, he's a master.
He's a master at that. And, and then I'm just horrified at how he talks about other countries that only let you have one child, and how it's almost this transgender, like he wants everybody neutered. Robots are going to be it. But yet he says enough things out there, and there's something about the dude that I feel is just almost bone chilling. Like he's not even human either. In a nice way, though, he's coming across, and almost like, I can't prove this, Damian, but I would almost stake something on it that he has a clone or a robot. And if anything ever happened to him, he's got something else right there, because I saw 2 interviews with him. He was not the same person, and he was so mechanical. It was crazy.
These people in high positions, Zuckerberg, Musk, these guys, they are so controlled by the people around them that they have to watch literally every single word they say, every mannerism they say. They can't be too animated. They have to be just right in everything that they do, because they have PR people around them telling them they got to do this. You got to have your eyebrows this way. You can't have your hair doing this. You know, all these things are around them, this whole control around them, and their minds literally are just repeating the talking points, because that's what they do eventually. They get you to the point where they're providing your own thoughts. They're giving you your own thoughts and say, okay, you're going to talk about this, you talk about this, you talk about this. And because they've worked with you so long, the words that are coming out of your mouth are actually their words and not your own. And so this is what you do. Hi, Jennifer. How are you? Good to see you again. Great. Oh, happy Memorial Day. Because everything is programmed.
You did that too well. Maybe you're a bot and we don't know it. No.
I have a lot of passion in my heart, as you can tell. I'm animated.
No, I totally.
I buy things.
Well, let me just say this. You know, them rolling out Sophia and Hans, and Sophia being the first citizen now in Saudi Arabia, it's almost a bit of a joke. I think that they have some robots that are so close to humans, if not, you know, and they're throwing us just kind of these older models that look like there's something like fantastical, but they've got other things. I mean, Damian, I just don't trust anything anymore. I think it's all lies, inversions. They throw us a bone, but the real truth is more fantastical than fiction.
You throw a Faraday cage around the fembot Sophia, whatever, and you put a Faraday cage around her. Let's see how much she talks then.
Right, and there's a lot of humans.
No wireless in that.
Gravity storm, yes, there are a lot of humans that are so close to being bots themselves.
Yeah. Well,
program. You know, and how you can tell if you're not a robot, folks, is do something that you want to do, that you know you've never been able to do, that you want to do. And if you can't do it, you don't have the program to do it. No.
Perfect. Yeah. That is the difference, that we have what's called appetency. Have the will and the desire to create through imagination. And
all right, Kyle. Fembots are people too. I suppose if you want to.
Yes, they are. Yes. Well, they are. Well, Sophia is actually, because she's now a citizen of Saudi Arabia.
So she is.
Because Saudi Arabia is going to be a. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I said she is, because she's human. She's got citizenship. So yeah.
And that shows you where Saudi Arabia is moving now. Instead of doing what they've been doing in the past, which is, you know, pretty destructive, they're actually going to now go into the innovation, and they want to do NEOM and this new city that's completely blockchain related. And so Sophia is now the first citizen of that. And they're showing you that they're going to now go into the innovation with all their money that they've made, and you know, and maybe we'll get some new power sources and stuff like that, because they're going to be promoting this new, you know, artificial intelligence. So this is part of what Saudi Arabia's promise now is to the world, right? This is they're changing their ways, if you will.
Right. And yeah, Deborah, they are going to start letting women drive in Saudi Arabia.
That's new law of the land, right? They're giving you more, you know, they're giving you more carrots, you know, just keep feeding it to you, make you happy. The more
how much role are we going to take, Damian?
Well, here's the thing. We believe in law. People believe in law. And so they want to have structure in their lives. So there's a lot of people who want a mommy, and they want to be taken care of, and they want the trains to run on time. And so we have the governmental system in place to provide that to people. The problem is they overstep, and they do the same thing to people who are like, you know, they want to just be left alone. And those people cause problems for the state. And so they constantly have to push on new laws to keep us in a fence, to stop us from going beyond certain areas. So for example, when we had a bunch of, like here in Las Vegas, we had a bunch of tanning salons, right? And all these tanning salons started popping up all over town. So they passed a law which made you had to get a license, and it was very, very expensive to have a license to have a tanning salon, because tanning salons are a health hazard, right? So this is what they told people. And so now that they have to get a permit to do all these things, there's not very many tanning salons anymore. And this is how they squeeze us. This is an example of how they squeeze us into certain corrals. And it doesn't take very many of them. It only takes a few of them to move the herd. And they do that through the legal system. So we follow these things, and yet here's the thing, most people are actually anarchists. I hate to say it, like the people who when they finally figure out what's going on, they're more anarchists, and anarchists.
Oh,
yeah, and that doesn't mean that somebody throws Molotov cocktails and stuff, right? Not somebody who causes violence. Actually, an anarchist means no ruler. So these are people who they don't want to be told what to do.
no, but I'm just thinking, you know, there are some mobs out there that when if they found out the whole truth and the whole thing came tumbling down, they would be throwing rocks, breaking into banks, and they would, you know, they would actually do the opposite and say, well, since you did this to us, and we're not going to give it to shakes about anything, and we're just going to fend for ourselves, and they wouldn't even try to be civilized. So I get some of it. I mean, you know, and I'm glad that there are police officers out there that nobody's going to be able to mug you and get away with it, and I'm very, very thankful for that. Definitely. Or the firefighters that are out there or whatever.
Yep. And these people actually, there's people within those institutions that are bad, and there's people within those institutions that are good. And the ones that are good, we just love to death, because all they want to do, like a policeman who really loves his job and really has a reason why he's there doing what he's doing. And that love shows in his work, because when he pulls somebody over, he has respect and admiration for the person he pulls over. Asks them nicely. The person responds in kind, and he has an enjoyable experience with his job. Not all the time, mind you. There are, you know, things that happen, obviously, but it's how we respond to them. Firefighters, same thing. These people really care about the community. These people really want to save people's lives.
They give their lives for the people sometimes.
Yeah, they put their lives on the line. The military, all these people, you know, they care very deeply. The problem comes is when that care is corrupted, is taken advantage of. Mm-hmm. And then you feel like there's no way out. And then you're stuck in this bad spiral where you're doing bad things. When I was in remote viewing, it started getting to the point where the targets that I was receiving were I was being used as a weapon. And that is very detrimental to somebody. That's very detrimental to my psyche. It's very detrimental to the people I'm remote viewing. There's all, you know, people who I'm involved with, you know, and I'll share this with you. When I was doing remote viewing, it got to the point where my monitor controlled pretty much everything that I did. And this is why I have such an understanding and compassion for Elon Musk and for Zuckerberg and these people, because I was under that umbrella too. I was under that, where my monitor told me everything I needed to know. And
they controlled you.
Yeah. And
333, thank you for joining the chat room. So you were, you know, almost like they wanted to control you in every little aspect, right? And own you.
They wanted to focus me. They wanted to focus me and use my skill set that they trained me on. So they feel because they trained me, because they gave me these abilities, they feel that I'm their property, if you will. And so they have the right, from their perspective, they have the right to aim me and focus me to whatever target that they want.
A legalized weapon.
There you go. In the beginning,
the super soldier stuff. Oh my goodness.
In the beginning, it wasn't like that. In the beginning, it was beautiful. It was like, you know, get to know the elements, get to know yourself, get to know how, you know, all these beautiful things in the beginning. Roswell was, you know, that was cool. You know, all these things that kind of opened you up, but they did it slowly. And they had like a process in which to expand yourself so you can have this information. So the first thing they would teach you is like the language behind, you know, your subconscious language, because your internal language is different than your external language. Your external language.
So it's kind of the beautiful side of evil. And so kind of just putting this all together.
It's like a double-edged sword.
You signed up for it, but you did not sign up for that part. And yet it kind of turned into that, where they were beginning to then use you as almost like a laser or whatever to go and do what they wanted. Wow.
Yeah. Thank you. That's not something that I wanted. That's definitely not something I wanted to be a part of at some point, where my health was starting to become affected, because I know that what I'm doing is not right. And for me, the reason why we're talking about these things today, for me, is because I am looking for correction in life. I want to be corrected. I want people to show me where my logic and my reason and my compassion and care for the world is wrong, because my relationship to the world is, you know, this way. But people out there have great information, and now they can share and correct me where I'm inaccurate. And this makes me a better person, more refined and more defined. So that way, when I have conversations, that we can have, you know, a real union of ideas and sharing of concepts. And this is what benefits the world.
I totally understand that. Okay, folks. Well, and it's been, I think, over an hour. Ooh. we're doing pretty good time. Damian, I'm going to have you on again. I mean, it's been an enjoyable conversation, and I think we've touched on a lot of things and food for thought for everybody. And, you know, it doesn't mean that we can't change and help our own world in whatever, however we need to deal with here. I've done shows on that. You guys haven't heard my past shows, you can go listen to those if you want any help while you're going through all of what we're talking about that is going on in the matrix. But Damian, I am so thankful that you came on tonight and you shared with us your thoughts, feelings, your theories, and information, and what you've been through. I mean, that's honestly, that's opening up a side of you that is vulnerable, and I commend you for it. And where you went and where you are now is fantastic, you know, with everything that you know you had to do and what you went through. And so I just, you know,
well, it's not all that bad. I don't want to make it think that it's like terrible, but yeah, there's things that
no,
you can't.
Scary
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, but I would not change it for anything. You know what I mean? I would not want that experience not to be a part of who I am in my life.
Right.
And I want people to have their experiences and get out and do these things and explore as well and expand their horizons, because it's going to enrich your life.
Yep. And definitely, folks, so the bottom line is, why are they doing all this? It's all about, you know, control and power. You know, who has the most toys, who's gone to the most planets, who, you know, has gone down to the inner earth, everything. I mean, whatever they want, their control and power. Damian, can you hold on hold on while I shut off the live feed right now?
Sure. Yeah, I'll wait.
Thank you so much for being in the chat room. I hope this information was helpful. Please be sure to hit the like button on your way out. And if you have any comments for Damian, I'm sure he'll be posting this on his channel also. It's Damian Questiny is your YouTube channel, right, Damian?
Yes.
So y'all can go and subscribe to Damian Questiny. And then if you have any comments for him that he can respond to, you can respond to him that way. I also posted his email in there if you have any emails you want to send to him. And I just want to thank all of you for being here, and have a wonderful evening, folks. And Damian, hold on just one moment.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you listening on Memorial Day.
Bye, folks.